The night Brittany Gargle died, the sky over Saskatoon was clear and cold. She was 18, full of plans, and had spent the evening out with her best friend, Cheyenne Antoine. The two had grown up like sisters, close enough to finish each other's sentences. They met in middle school and bonded over a shared love of music and late-night phone calls. Their friendship became the kind people described as unbreakable, until it broke. Let us know where you are watching from in the comment section. Feel free to like and share the video. On the evening of March 24th, 2015, they went out like they had countless times before. They were bar hopping, taking selfies, and drinking. To anyone watching, they looked like two young women enjoying the freedom of youth, but there was tension brewing beneath the surface. Friends later said that Cheyenne had been upset. She was worried that Brittany was pulling away. She thought Brittany was changing, maybe even leaving her behind. Brittany had been talking about going back to school, finding a job, settling down. Cheyenne wasn't ready for any of that. Sometime after 2 a.m., security footage caught them leaving a local pub. That would be the last time Brittany was seen alive. The next morning, Brittany's body was discovered on the side of a rural road, just outside Saskatoon. She had been strangled. Near her body lay a black leather belt with a large buckle. There were no signs of a struggle. No purse, no phone, just silence. When the news broke, the community was stunned. Brittany was known for her bright personality, her love of art, and her fierce loyalty to her friends. People lit candles, shared stories online, and tried to make sense of the loss. Cheyenne was among the first to post a tribute on Facebook. She wrote, "I miss you, Britt. I don't know who would do this." Police brought her in for questioning, as they were doing with many of Brittany's close contacts. Cheyenne told them she and Brittany had separated that night. She said Brittany had left with someone else, a man she didn't know. But her story was vague, and it changed with each retelling. Detectives noticed the inconsistencies. They also noted how calm Cheyenne appeared. Not grief-stricken, but composed. Too composed. The investigation stalled for a few weeks. There were no leads, no witnesses, no evidence, until a detective started combing through social media accounts. One of the last photos posted on Brittany's Facebook page caught their attention. It was a selfie. Cheyenne and Brittany, both smiling, arms wrapped around each other. It had been taken the night Brittany died. In the photo, Cheyenne was wearing a black leather belt, the same kind of belt found near Brittany's body. The buckle was large and distinct. The resemblance was too strong to ignore. Investigators zoomed in, checked timestamps, and cross-referenced the photo with other images. It was the same belt. They brought Cheyenne back in. This time, they showed her the photo. She hesitated. Her voice cracked. She said she didn't remember much about that night. She said they had both been drinking heavily. She admitted they had argued, but insisted she didn't know what happened after. A few days later, police received a tip. One of Cheyenne's friends had come forward with private Facebook messages. In one of them, Cheyenne had written, "I was really drunk. I don't remember. We got in a fight. I think I hurt her. It was enough to arrest her." Under interrogation, Cheyenne eventually confessed. She said they had argued in the car. Brittany had insulted her, told her to grow up. She snapped. She grabbed the belt off her waist and wrapped it around Brittany's neck. She didn't remember how long she held it. When she let go, Brittany wasn't breathing. She panicked. She left her friend's body by the roadside and drove home. The confession shocked the community. People who knew Cheyenne couldn't believe it, but the evidence was overwhelming. The belt, the DNA, the confession, and the selfie. Cheyenne was charged with manslaughter. She pleaded guilty. The prosecution argued that she hadn't planned to kill Brittany, that it was a drunken act of rage. The defense pointed to Cheyenne's troubled past, an unstable childhood, time in foster care, early exposure to abuse and addiction. She was sentenced to 7 years in prison. The sentence sparked outrage. People wanted more. They wanted justice. They believed that Cheyenne had betrayed not just Brittany, but the entire community. But under Canadian law, with no evidence of premeditation, manslaughter was the most appropriate charge. In the years that followed, the case became a landmark example of digital evidence in criminal investigations. Law enforcement agencies began using social media more aggressively. The selfie was held up as proof that even the smallest digital trace can reveal the truth. Experts analyzed the psychology behind the murder. They described the friendship as toxic, codependent, fueled by jealousy and alcohol. They said Brittany had been trying to grow up, while Cheyenne was spiraling. But none of that brought Brittany back. Her family created a foundation in her name. They spoke at schools, raised awareness about emotional abuse, and warned young people about red flags in relationships. They wanted Brittany to be remembered not as a victim, but as someone who could still make a difference. Cheyenne is expected to be released soon. She's expressed remorse in interviews. She says she thinks about Brittany every day, that she wishes she could take it back. But for those who love Brittany, the pain remains. Sometimes they look at that selfie, the smiles, the belt, the last moment before everything changed. It's haunting. It's a reminder that truth often hides in plain sight, that even our most casual moments can become evidence, that behind every photo there's a story, and sometimes that story ends in murder. Let me know where you're watching from. Feel free to like, and share your opinion on the comment section. Cheyenne Antoine sat in her cell, staring at the ceiling. The gray concrete above her had become all too familiar. In the quiet moments, when the noise of the prison faded and the guard's footsteps disappeared down the corridor, she could still see Brittany's face. That night played on a loop in her mind, but never clearly. It was like trying to remember a dream after waking up. Bits and pieces. Her hands, the belt, Brittany gasping, then silence. In the weeks after her sentencing, reporters swarmed the courthouse, hoping to capture some trace of emotion, some final soundbite that would explain it all. But Cheyenne had already gone silent. The courtroom had been packed the day she entered her plea. Members of Brittany's family sat in the front row, holding on to each other like if they let go, they'd collapse. Her mother didn't cry, at least not in public. She just stared at Cheyenne with an expression that couldn't be labeled. It wasn't hate. It was something heavier. A kind of heartbreak that went beyond words. The prosecutors presented the facts simply. There had been an argument, alcohol, and then a moment of rage. A belt had been used. The buckle left a faint imprint across Brittany's skin. There was no evidence of planning. No motive beyond the twisted emotions between two young women whose friendship had frayed past the point of repair. But everyone in the courtroom knew this was no ordinary fight. There was a history there, a decade of shared secrets, of fierce loyalty and even fiercer jealousy. Witnesses had come forward to describe it. Teachers remembered them as inseparable but intense. Friends recalled nights out that started in laughter and ended in tears. One friend said it was like they needed each other too much. Another mentioned how Cheyenne hated when Brittany made plans without her, and Brittany, on more than one occasion, had complained that Cheyenne was too much, too possessive, too dramatic, too unpredictable. Social workers would later reveal that Cheyenne had bounced between foster homes as a child. She'd seen things no kid should ever see: violence, drugs, neglect. By the time she was a teenager, she had learned to survive by latching on to whoever gave her a sense of belonging. Brittany had been that person. More than a friend, almost a lifeline. And Brittany, she had her own struggles. Her father left early. Her mother worked 2 jobs. But she was ambitious. She talked about art school, about moving to Toronto. She posted motivational quotes online, like she was trying to will herself into a better life. But even as she looked toward the future, she never quite let go of Cheyenne. Maybe she felt guilty. Maybe she thought she could help. Maybe she just didn't know how to leave someone who had always been there. The night of March 24th had been meant as a celebration. No occasion, really. Just 2 friends blowing off steam. They had started with shots at a downtown bar, then moved to another. Witnesses said they were laughing, singing along to the jukebox, taking selfies like nothing was wrong. But something was. Surveillance footage later showed a different story. In one clip, Cheyenne appeared to be yelling. Brittany turned away, arms folded. Then they hugged. Then Cheyenne shoved her. It was brief, just a flicker, but enough to suggest the tension wasn't just under the surface anymore. It was breaking through. After 2 a.m., They got in the car. That part is still foggy. No witnesses. No cameras. Just the two of them in a belt. Investigators would later reconstruct the likely timeline. They argued. Cheyenne, drunk and emotional, lashed out. Maybe she didn't mean to kill Brittany. But intention didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the result. Brittany's body left like discarded trash on the edge of town. Her coat pulled tight around her. Her boots still on. The irony was cruel. The same belt Brittany had once complimented was now the weapon that ended her life. And the photo, the one that showed them smiling, arms around each other, would become the linchpin of the entire investigation. Without that image, the case might have stayed cold. The belt might have remained just a belt. But social media doesn't forget. When police showed Cheyenne the selfie, she didn't speak for a long time. Then she broke down. Not sobbing, just shaking. She asked for a lawyer. She asked for her mom. She whispered, "I didn't mean to," but the words trailed off. In her confession, Cheyenne said she remembered grabbing the belt, but not what happened next. "I blacked out," she said. "I was just so mad." She said she didn't want to be around me anymore. She said I was toxic. Those words, she admitted, hit harder than anything. Toxic. As if all the years they had spent together, all the loyalty, meant nothing now. She drove away in a daze. Parked the car outside her aunt's place. Went to sleep like nothing had happened. The next morning, she texted Brittany. "Where are you at?" She knew there would be no reply. At Brittany's funeral, the church overflowed. Photos of her were placed near the altar, her dancing, painting, laughing. Her mother read a letter aloud. Brittany had a light in her. Even on her darkest days, she tried to shine for others. Cheyenne's absence was noted. The media seized on the story. The selfie that solved the murder, headlines read. True crime forums dissected the friendship like amateur psychologists. Some painted Cheyenne as a monster. Others saw a broken girl who had never learned how to handle loss. The truth, as always, lay somewhere in between. Inside prison, Cheyenne attended therapy sessions. She didn't speak much at first, but over time, she began writing in a journal. Pages filled with memories, some sweet, some bitter. She wrote about the first time she met Brittany in the 7th grade, about their matching bracelets, about how Brittany had taught her to dance, had defended her in fights, had told her she was worth something. She also wrote about the night everything shattered. "I lost her before I killed her," she scribbled once. "I think she was already gone, and I couldn't handle it." The parole board reviewed her case every few years. She expressed remorse, said she wanted to speak to high schoolers someday, warn them about drinking, about holding on too tight, about not knowing when to let go. Brittany's family refused to attend the hearings. "What would we say?" her mother told a reporter. "She took our daughter. There's nothing else." The foundation they built in Brittany's name continued to grow. They raised money for scholarships, held annual art shows in her honor. Each year, on the anniversary of her death, they lit candles and posted the same photo, the selfie. Only now, it didn't look like two friends smiling. It looked like a warning, a moment frozen in time, forever changed by what came after. Cheyenne will be released soon. She plans to move to a small town, far from Saskatoon. She says she wants to work with at-risk youth. She says she wants to make something good out of what she destroyed. But for those who knew Brittany, there will always be questions. What if she hadn't gone out that night? What if she had walked away sooner? What if Cheyenne had gotten help? No answers, just a photo, a belt, and a story that won't stop echoing. Because sometimes, the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who end up hurting you beyond repair. And sometimes, the truth doesn't come with fireworks or drama. It comes in a flash, a shutter click, a belt buckle, a smile that hides a storm. Let me know where you're watching from in the comment section. That photo would live on, not just in the police file, not just in news articles, but in the minds of everyone who ever saw it. Two girls, cheek to cheek, lit by the flash of a phone camera. A moment that looked like joy, but was actually already cracked beneath the surface. Brittany was already pulling away. Cheyenne was already breaking. And no one noticed. Years later, true crime documentaries would retell the story, usually focusing on the photo. But what they often missed was everything that came before. The pain that doesn't get documented. The slow collapse of a friendship built on trauma, bonding, on survival, on the desperate need to not be alone. That's what made it so hard to see the danger. Because it didn't come from a stranger. It came from someone who once swore they'd never let go. In one of her final therapy sessions before release, Cheyenne was asked a simple question. Do you forgive yourself? She didn't answer right away. She stared out the small, frosted window in the counselor's office and said, I don't know if I'm allowed to. I don't think forgiveness should come easy for people like me. The counselor said nothing, just let the silence stretch. I used to think if I explained it enough, people would understand, that maybe even her family would forgive me someday. But now, I think I just need to live with it. Do better. Be better. That's the only thing I can control. Outside the prison gates, the world moved on. New headlines replaced old ones. New tragedies pushed this one further into the archives. But for those who lived through it, those who knew Brittany, who loved her, time didn't soften the blow. It just made the absence feel more permanent. Her mother still keeps the photo in a drawer. She doesn't hang it up, says it's too much, but she can't throw it away either. It's the last time they were together, she once told a journalist, before everything broke. Cheyenne's release wasn't announced publicly. No cameras, no press, just a quiet exit through a side door and a ride to a halfway house on the edge of a different province. She used a new last name, started over, as best she could. She got a job at a nonprofit, worked behind the scenes, filing paperwork, setting up chairs for workshops. No one recognized her at first, and if they did, they didn't say anything. Sometimes she speaks to small groups, never about the murder directly, but always about pain, about how it doesn't go away, about how it has to be faced. Don't wait until you lose everything, she tells them. Don't hold on so tight that you strangle the very thing you love. But no matter what she says or how sincere she is, the truth lingers, because forgiveness is one thing, forgetting is another, and for Brittany's family, forgetting isn't an option. Each year, when March 24th rolls around, they light those candles again. They post a photo. Some people leave hearts in the comments. Others write long messages. But one reply from Brittany's younger cousin always gets shared the most. She was more than a headline, more than a case. She was art and music and late-night drives. She was trying so hard to be happy, and someone took that from her. No one replies to Cheyenne's posts. She doesn't make many. When she does, they're quotes about healing, about accountability, about starting over. But there's one post, buried deep in her feed, that hasn't been deleted. It's the selfie, still there, still smiling, still hiding the storm.